if they're coming in a huge clump, or if they're horizontal to you, you don't really want to engage. But if they're in a straight line, it's a lot easier for you to pick him off, and his damage output is actually a lot less. So don't be scared of marines or turrets. Just make sure you engage when it is a situation that favors you more. And definitely don't be afraid of turrets. Since they do explosive damage, they do 50% damage to Mutalisks, so they actually don't do nearly that much damage to Mutalisks. So right now I'm harassing his economy, picking off stray marines and SCVs where I can see them. Looks like he's setting up a bunker, and that's when you don't want to engage the Terran, when his marines are horizontal to your Mutalisks. So now my next base is already up, my lurkers are almost finished researching, and yeah, my third base is up. When you get your third base, you want to add the gas right away, because you're going to need that third gas as soon as possible to get your hive and late game started. Now you want to make note of where you take an expansion. On maps like this, if there is a ramp, you want to take a ramped expansion, as I did. I took a main. This is because later in mid game, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Terran to assault you if you have two lurkers on the ramp, and it'll take until either late game or until he has dropships before he can assault you. So saw a couple of his forces moving out, and I have my lurkers already ready, or already morphing. So this would actually be a pretty ideal time for him to attack. But I do have 4 Sunkens though, and a control group of Mutas. So even if he did attack, he could probably take out those Sunkens, but my lurkers would finish just in time in order for me to be safe from the attack. So my lurkers are now out. I have a good amount of lurkers and good amount of Mutas. I can actually orchestrate an attack right here. Once again, my lurker micro is not the best, but I still do manage to push him back, and now that he's seen those lurkers, he's probably going to retreat, and I can take some more map control. Because I delayed his expansion with a 9 pool, he's probably not used to playing this way as much, and it really makes a much easier game for me because I have 3 bases and he's on 2, whereas oftentimes the Zerg is on 2 bases for quite a while, and the Terran just gets a pretty good advantage because they get a very fast expansion. So he actually tried to assault my base, but my lurkers finished at a good timing that they could defend. So now I notice he only has 2 barracks, or 2 bunkers, and not much defense, and I actually forgot to send my Zerglings there because I 1A, 2A, too fast, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be able to do a lot of damage here. I know that the majority of his army was out roaming about the map trying to take out my expansions, so this is why I made this kind of attack. Sometimes if they have tanks and stuff, you never want to make this kind of attack, but I thought I could risk it in this game because I had a pretty good advantage, and it looked pretty favorable for me to take that attack. So now that I'm doing this, I'm going to delay his expansion even further because he's not going to be able to mine there. So this makes I'm going to be able to get my hive fairly soon, and he's not going to be able to threaten me at all because I'll have a good I'll have my hive almost complete by the time he even tries to push me. So right now he cannot mine from that base, and I'm getting a larger and larger advantage, and my hive is already complete, so I'm getting a defiler mound, and I want to start getting my 4th gas so later I can get my ultralisks. But first I'll start with defiler. So usually usually as soon as the hive finishes, I like to get a Nidus Canal at my expansion, because it really just makes it a lot more easy to defend, especially if something like a drop comes. You really want some kind of mobile defense, so you won't be forced to lose an expansion or take heavy economic damage. At this time I also start researching drop, overlord speed, and drop. Drops are really good against the Terran because later in the game they're going to have a highly mobile force, but if you do a drop in their base, it's going to force them to move back, and that's why drops are really good. And you can take out all their production facilities and all that kind of stuff like that. So that's when you really want to do a good attack in a drop. So right now I have a fairly large force. I'm gonna allow him to take his expansion back again. Phone is ringing again. That is easy. Alright, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I did get my second evolution chamber. And I'm adding a few more hatcheries so I can increase my production. And I'll be sending this drone to get my fourth gas as soon as the extractor finishes. When a Terran usually pushes, he'll have tanks and he'll be trying to push out right before you get Hive. But since I was able to delay and destroy all of his attacks, he never had this push against me, so I got a really easy late game. But usually when a Terran attacks, it'll be right before your Hive, and he's going to be pushing with tanks. So what you want to do is you want to take all of your lurkers and continually burrow them just out of range of his tanks, so it delays his push as much as possible. Started to get some Scourge, so I can take out pesky vessels, and also I sent a few down to the bottom expansion to defend from drops on the cliff. And now I'm consuming some Zerglings, and I will be getting ready to attack. So whenever you push with Dark Swarm into a Terran's natural, that is usually a sign that the game is almost over. Because, I mean, Dark Swarm, obviously, he can't do any damage under that. So it's going to be basically almost impossible for him to deal with units inside his natural, since he can't back up or anything. Once again, I won a 2A 3A a little bit too quickly, so I left some units behind. And I burrowed my lurkers not in the best spot. My defilers were a little late. But it didn't really matter anyways. I had a lot of forces, and I had the Dark Swarm. And basically at this point it's GG, because he can't do anything. Those tanks barely do any damage under the Swarm. He doesn't have a vessel anymore. So at this point he can barely even detect my lurkers. So now I'm going to be able to start Ultralisk production, continue researching my drop, keep getting some defense over at my expansion, and take another base while destroying his expansion. And now that his expansion's dead, I don't think he has any minerals at his main. So this is going to be GG right here. So basically, this is not a very high level game, but just I wanted to record an FP VOD, and I hope you enjoyed it. And there's the game.